Hello everyone, this is Rita Holmes, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. I'm here to show you another technique this week. Today I'm going to be doing what's called Smackin Acetate. So I'm just trying to get my iPad here set up so I can make sure I can watch and have my stuff where you can see it. But anyway, I do sell Stampin' Up, so most of the products I use will be Stampin' Up. I also offer with my techniques, if you haven't been here before, I have a group called Stamp Crazy VIP on Facebook that you can join, and when I do my techniques, I always make a PDF of how the directions and the supplies I used, and plus what I used on the card, that you can go there and you can print off and be able to start you a technique library. I've done this, did it many years ago, and now doing it again, just revising some techniques and going through and updating them. But I put them all in a notebook and add my cards behind the directions so that I'll always have a visual, keeping them in alphabetical order, so it'll kind of give me a place to go to when I want to do something a little bit different than just stamping or whatever. So I just encourage you to join me with that. I do Facebook Lives at 10 o'clock every Tuesday on that Stamp Crazy VIP page, or group actually. And I also have a Stampin' Up website if you don't have a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I would be more than happy to take care of you if you'd love to join Stampin' Up. I'd love to have you. I'm trying to build my team. And I would love to talk to you about that also. And you can go to my website, ritaholmes.stampinup.net, to be able to do all those things. So without anything else to say, I think I'm going to sit down and I'm going to go ahead and start talking about my Smackin Acetate technique. So you can see this is the card that I've made with the technique, and this is done on the thick Whisper White cardstock. I use the thick Whisper White because it actually holds up a little bit, or it's a little thicker, because you are going to be applying water to the cardstock and you want it to be able to hold up. I also, years ago when I did and taught this technique, I did it with glossy paper. So here is a card done with doing it on glossy paper. I use the same color markers on both, and you can see the one on the glossy is just a little bit more muted. So you want to make sure that you use bold colored markers, and you will be using water-based markers for this. I use the Stampin' Right markers from Stampin' Up. If you don't have those and you have Prismacolor markers, they will work great. You can use really any water-based marker, even a Crayola marker should work for this technique, but I like my Stampin' Right markers for this, so that's what I've been using. I'm going to show you a few other cards I've made using this technique, and then I'm going to show you some papers, the background papers that I've made. Here's another card using the same stamp set, which is the Tasteful Touches, which is in our new catalog that just started this past about a week ago. So I'm using this Tasteful Touches stamp set on everything that I show you tonight. Okay, well, no, I got one card that I used a stamp set called High Tide. But anyway, here's another card, and what I did was I actually made a big piece of, not a big one, but did the matte size stamping, and of course I got ink in a place I didn't want it, so I just cut it down into some pieces and used the pieces. So I came up with this card, and I haven't done this card yet, a card with this one yet, but I also have this little piece right here that I thought would make a really cute card. So there's a lot that you can do with it, and here is another card I made with a different color combination, and it's right here. And I'll tell you the colors of markers I used if you do have Stampin' Right markers. On this one I used the Gorgeous Grape, the Melon Mambo, and the Daffodil Delight. That's the three colors in this set. And these cards right here, I used Melon Melody, Bermuda Bay, Old Olive, and Calypso Coral. And then I also did a piece, let me show you, I'll pull it out here. I did this piece of, I haven't made anything with it, but it's a color combination that I put together. And it is Rich Razzleberry, Blackberry Bliss, and Shaded Spruce. And that's the colors I used on this. Let me show you just a couple other combinations that I've done. All of these are with the Bermuda Bay and the Calypso Coral and the Old Olive. Some of it I've added a little bit of yellow. Here's another one with the Blackberry Bliss and that. And you can just see that they turn out so different. That's Gorgeous Grape, Melon Mambo, and Daffodil Delight. And so is this one. And you can just see how different they are. And you see a lot of white showing in here. I left it that way. I think it can add a lot to the card. If I end up not liking it, I can cut those out. Same with this piece here. That's another one with the Bermuda Bay and the Calypso Coral and stuff. And then this one is Gorgeous Grape. Bermuda Bay, and I think I added a little bit of the Calypso Coral in with it. And then this one is just another one with the Bermuda Bay and the Daffodil Delight and the Old Olive. So there's just a couple different combinations of papers that I've made. They do kind of curl. And let me just tell you, if they do that, what you can do is you can take it on the side of something and then just, I usually have this held down when I do this, and then just move this across and kind of straighten your paper out to be able to stamp on it. I just kind of hold it down. I'm a little rebel when it comes to stamping. So anyway, first of all, I'm going to show you how to do this technique, and what you're going to need is, I'm going to put a piece of old cardstock down just to kind of save my paper. You're going to need some acetate or the Stampin' Up! Window sheets, and you'll want to put a piece of light colored cardstock or a piece of tissue paper, and I just have tissue paper behind this one, and that way I can see my markers a little bit. And you're going to need a paper towel. This is the one I used this morning when I was showing this technique. So I'm going to use it some more. It's still good. Just mixes up a lot of color. You're going to need a bottle of water, a spritzer bottle of water. And then you're going to need your markers and your papers. Now I'm going to show you how to do this on the Whisper White cardstock and on the glossy cardstock, to just kind of show you the difference of what you can do with it, okay? So I'm going to start out with the Bermuda Bay. Now you want to just scribble this on, and you want to make sure that you get into the areas real good, color it. And then just add your colors, and you want to come out enough to where your cardstock's going to be able to lay on it. You don't want to be stingy with doing this technique. And I hope you can see the colors there in the video that I'm adding. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your water bottle and you're going to spritz this, and you want to get it pretty wet. You want to get it wet enough that if you want to pick this up, sure, if you have fingernails to get under it, you can actually make this move a little bit. The water, you can swirl it around. you want to take your piece of, I'm using the Thick Whisper right now. And when I lay this down, I'm going to kind of smudge it in there, okay? And I want to lay that down. Here's where my paper towel comes in handy. I kind of wipe this just so I don't get so messy when I go to make more papers that I'm putting fingerprints and all in there. Then you're going to lift it up. Now you can see with, it's going to dry to look like this. It's not going to be all this, and that's just where the water hasn't dried yet, so it'll have a nice smooth look when it gets done. I will show you, if I didn't want this white right here, I could take and just make me another mark, spritz it, and then just lay my ink in there, and that's going to darken that a little bit. Not a lot, but it will darken it, okay? So, it won't be so white. So that is with those markers. Now I'm going to take a piece of glossy cardstock, and I'm going to do the same color markers and just let you see in the beginning how much lighter it is. I'm going to start with my green this time. Now in between each time you color on your acetate or your window sheets, make sure you dry that with your paper towel so you don't get so much water into your tip of your marker, because you really don't want that to happen. I try not to muddy up into my colors, but I'll try to, if I see an empty spot, I might go with another color and just go into it a little bit. My markers have been so much use today that they are squeaking. Okay, now I'm going to spritz it with water. And here again, even with the glossy cardstock, you want to spritz that really good. I'm going to lift it up and see if I can get that to run a little bit. There we go. Now I'm going to take my glossy cardstock, and with it too, you're going to just kind of lay it down and kind of smudge it around. Take your paper towel and wipe your edges. And I just do that because I don't want to be messy. You know. And then you're going to get your acetate to release that. And if you can see how much lighter that is than this, but it really makes a nice shiny card. So I'm going to let those lay and dry. You can dry these with a heat gun, but you will not get it dried all the way through. So if you go to stamp on it before all of the fibers are dry, it's going to lighten your ink a lot. So your best bet would be to use like a Stamparatus or a Misty tool, whatever you have like that. Lay your stamp in that and stamp over it a couple times so you get a bright looking image on there. I'm going to do another piece of glossy, and I'm going to do it with, these are really vibrant, the darker colors, and using the Stampin' Up! Markers, because you know we've got them into collections like Settles and Regals and all that. Do not use the Settles in there. They are so light, they just don't give a good contrast on your paper as much, especially glossy. They won't at all. So anyway, I would stay away from those, but I would do any of the other colors. Work pretty good. These were pretty vibrant colors, so I just kind of wanted you to see these on a piece of glossy cardstock. We're going to mist that real good. And we're going to take it and make sure you go glossy side down. And kind of just mix that in there. Clean up your area. And then just lift it up. And look at the difference in that. I'm going to soak up that little end there if I can, just a hair. So there's a little white spot there. Let's see if we can get that kind of. Oh no, it made a little mark. But anyway, there's that one. See how much lighter they are? So you really don't worry about using a marker that's too dark. I don't think it can be too dark, especially on glossy. I'll take those same markers and I'll do one more piece of regular cardstock with these same markers. And we will, I'll show you how vibrant they get on a piece of regular thick cardstock. I could sit and make these all day. I just think they're fun. So here again, I don't think I got that big enough, so I'm going to really swirl this. I'm going to have a lot of white in here probably. Just didn't get that quite big enough. Let's see what I come up with. Not bad. See the pinks, the greens, and the purplish color. So anyway, that is the colors. Now I'm going to show you how I made my card, and then we'll be done. But anyway, when you're doing this, just go ahead and make you up a bunch of background papers. Let them sit overnight is my suggestion. Now a lot of these I made this morning, and they're good and dry. Like these, they're really good and dry to use. So you know, but overnight is a good thing to wait for. So here's the piece. I already did some and let them dry. So here's the piece that I am going to use for my card tonight. So let me get a blank piece of cardstock so you can kind of see this better, and I'm going to be stamping off a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm using the thick Whisper White right now, so I'm using my Memento ink. I'm going to ink up my flower from the Tasteful Touches set. And I'm really going to press hard. And I'm going to stamp 3 flowers across down here. And then I'm going to stamp one right over here. Okay, there's my flowers. And I made me a couple of masks. My light went out for some reason. I don't know what happened with that. But let me turn it back on real quick. That was kind of crazy. There we go. I'm sorry about that. Okay, what I'm going to do is I made a couple masks for my flowers. And I'm going to just put these over these 2 flowers right here. I'm going to take my leaf stamp, or my little sprig, I should say. It's not really, looks more like a sprig. And I'm just going to stamp some sprigs around my card. Oh, I forgot to mask that one. Look what I did. Knew that looked funny. All because my light went out. Oh well, I'm going to continue on. It's okay. It's a card. So I'm going to take the sentiment, the good things in life are better with you is what it says. And I'm just going to stamp that in the middle. Okay, we have all our stamping done for this card, and what I did, and my PDF has all the sizes of the paper I used. Using my basic black, and I'm just going to glue that underneath there. See if I have enough glue in this bottle here. I love using the Tombow glue, especially when the paper kind of has this little curl to it. So what I do is just take that, and I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to rub. That way I get all that glue into that piece of basic black cardstock to really stick to the back of my paper. And there we go with that. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it on a piece of Bermuda Bay, because I just want that to bring out that blue in the card. So we're just going to take and layer that up. And I just left like 1/8 of an inch around on the card, just to give it a pop of color, but not really a ton. Let me move this out of my way a minute. It's kind of sticky. I'm going to fold my piece of Very Vanilla cardstock is what I use for this. I just think it's got that kind of soft color to it to be able to use this. And I'm going to glue this on right here. Plus I think that Very Vanilla goes good with that little bit of yellow that's showing through on the card. It just kind of highlights that also, I think. So we're going to just glue all that on, and there's our card. That is the first card. Now I'm going to stamp on a piece of the glossy cardstock for you to see it, okay? So let me bring my piece of paper back in so we can do this. And I'm going to have to change out my stamps real quick, because I'm going to use same stamp set but different stamps. I just want something a little bit different for this. So what I'm going to take right now is, we're going to be using the feather. We're going to use this little geometric design, and we're going to use the saying, just saying hello. So what I'm going to do now, we're on glossy cardstock, which I am going to use Memento ink. If you're a StazOn type of person, you can use StazOn. I prefer Memento, and it will dry on here. It'll be okay. So I'm going to be showing you this technique on the glossy with Memento ink. When you stamp on the glossy paper, you want to just lay your stamp down, come straight up. Try not to slide this, because if you slide, you will have some blurry looking little geometric designs here. So I'm just stamping up just a few of these designs. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this feather, but I'm going to try not to stamp the stem. I don't want the stem in the design. So I'm just going to ink that up, and I'm going to lay it straight down because I want all those feathery. There we go. I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to bring it over here and stamp straight down and up. And then I'm going to do one here up a little bit higher. And then I think I'm going to put just a piece of it right here. There we go. Now I hope I left room for my saying. Yeah, I did, just enough. And then I'm going to take and add my saying right here. Didn't smear it. Good job. Now when you are done with all your stamping on here, you will want to heat set it real quick, just to heat set that ink, because it doesn't dry as fast as it stays on, but it does dry. Doesn't take long to dry it. I just think with the Memento ink, you don't have the cleanup and all that you do with the StazOn. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to lay it flat, and then I'm going to rub, being sure not to scoot it. And that'll get any ink off that I did not dry. Let's see how we did. Pretty good. We got it pretty dry. All right. So let's finish this card real quick. I'm going to back it again too in the black. I just think that helps bring out all of the stamping that we did. So let's just take and ink that up. We're going to turn that over and we're going to rub. And then we are going to back it on a piece of gorgeous grape. I'm not a big purple fan for some reason, but I really thought this looked pretty with that purple, that pink, and what it looked like on this glossy cardstock. I just really, really liked it. So there we go. We left a bigger border on that, just to give a different look. We are going to mount this onto white cardstock. So we're going to take and fold it over. And I'm just going to take and glue this on. I did nothing fancy with my cards tonight. I just let the background kind of do the work, and didn't worry about really adding any ribbons or anything because I used enough of the focal point of the whole stamp itself. So we want to make sure we got that on there kind of straight. Okay, there we go. Let's turn that one over. And there's our card like that. And that could be sent to, that could be a masculine card. We could send that to a man or whatever. So here's the two cards we did, okay? This card right here is also done with the Calypso Coral behind it, which is this one with a little bit more of a border. So, you know, you can put whatever colors prominent in your colors there that you kind of like. This one's a whole different look than this one. I just wanted to try out these stamps. So I hope you guys like this technique, and you really should try it. Like I said, you can use glossy cardstock. You can use the thick Whisper White cardstock. Use bold colored markers. Don't go anywhere. Don't go too light. If you do, your colors won't show up too well. Just go ahead and make you up a bunch of papers. Then you can start trimming them and making the cards that the way you want them. And as you can see, you can use pieces of the card, different stamps, you know, just you can do a lot of different things with this. So I actually hope you have a good time with it. I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you would, just give me a thumbs up on there to really let me know that if you liked it or not. And I'd really like for you to be able to share my videos, if you would, with your friends. Thank you, and have a great day.